everyone, Madilynn Dale here, the chapter goddess. I am a mom, author, blogger, freelancer, podcaster, producer, and overall creative. With this show, I really want to focus on creatives and bringing their authentic self to life. How are they motivated to pursue their passions? What have been the struggles along the way? Does self-care play an important role in who they are today and how they connect with the creative flow? Bringing one's authentic self to the forefront is important in this world that we live in currently. Sharing your self-care, your tips, and how you stay on track for things without losing it completely is also important. Self-care is not talked about enough, and authenticity and self-care are what I like to highlight with my creatives, as well as getting to know them. So get ready for a fun and entertaining show. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get ready to meet this episode's guest. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing great today. We are here at the end of May, and I have some fantastic guests for you to meet on the shows today. On this show, I've got a fun new author for you guys, and I'm hoping, knock on wood, that my internet stays stable because it's been being a little iffy. So if we blink out for a minute, just give us a moment and we'll come right back. But hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already before I get started, and leave us comments if you're on watching. We'd love to bring in questions from the audience, so definitely drop us a comment. And without further ado, let me bring our guest for today in. Hello, Miss Joanna.
Madilynn, hi. That intro is awesome.
Thank you.
I'm watching it. I'm like, this is so cool.
Right? Yeah, I love the music I picked to go with it because it's really upbeat and fun. Fits my personality a lot. But enough about me. Go ahead and tell our viewers and listeners who you are, what you write, and a little more about like what life is like for you.
Oh gosh. So much of what your intro, the self-help, like looking after yourself, just resonated with me, right? Because I'm one of these people who will go.
Yes.
It's that no lack of drive here. So I'm an author. I'm an artist. I refer to it as the yin and yang of creativity, because my art will inspire my writing, and my writing will inspire my art. And I have 2 thriller novels published, and they deal with the legal system. And they're not heavy legal thrillers, but my heroine, she's a lawyer, she's a prosecutor, and I used to work in the prosecutor's office for about 13 years. I was a legal assistant, and I thought it's, right, what you know, right?
Yes, man.
So one day when I was doing rewrites, we were talking about that just before we went live. I was sitting there thinking about this character of mine, and because I like illustrating motorcycles on paper, I just thought, why not have your characters ride bikes? And it is so neat because James Bond may have all the different fast cars. Well, I think just about in each book, my heroine has a new motorcycle, which I'm like, yeah, girl.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
For you guys watching, here are her novels. We've got Dealer's Child and The Unraveling. And I can't remember which one you said came first.
The Unraveling. The Unraveling you did. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I wrote that one about 20 years ago, and kind of thinking about our discussion before we went live.
Yeah.
life happened,
Mhm.
kids happened, teenage girls, and
Oh,
yeah, I stopped writing. I stopped writing. Just I had other interests too.
yeah.
And so it was 2019 that I pulled out that manuscript and I thought, okay, if there's something here that I think is salvageable, because I'm sure just like you're your own worst critic.
Yes.
I thought if there's something salvageable, I'm going to continue with this story. And self-publishing and being an indie author had changed
Oh,
from
yeah.
20 years ago, and I thought, all right, it's about time, right? Because there's good authors out there who yeah, shouldn't be overlooked because,
Agreed.
so yeah, that's kind of my story.
Yes. So let's talk a little more about Dealer's Child. This is a second book in this thriller series um, with Jade and Sage, right?
Right.
Was this one, did you come up with the idea for it after you went back and reworked that first book?
So here's the thing. That first book,
Uh-huh.
I thought, okay, like, we talk about drive. And when I started rewriting that first book, I just told myself, focus on the first book. Don't think about the second. Don't think about if you're going to do a second. Just do this first book. And it was about literally, I've noticed a pattern. About a month after I publish a book, I'm now thinking of the second. I start to think about the next one. So I worked full time then, and it was a month after The Unraveling came out that I started, as I'm walking to and from work, I start thinking about the second one.
Yeah.
And I used to walk over this bridge, and there's a scene on a bridge where my heroine and hero, to escape bad guys, they jump off this bridge. Okay.
Oh,
So there I am walking to and from work, looking over the side of this bridge, thinking, okay, where would they jump? Where would they hit rocks? We don't want them hitting rocks. We don't
yeah.
want to kill them, right?
Yeah.
And then in the news, some guy actually did jump over the bridge, right?
Oh,
So yeah. So you need to understand that it's not high up, like it's not a bridge. It's not like in San Francisco, that
yeah.
bridge, or some of the bridges we have in Canada, like in
Mhm.
Vancouver. It's a lower bridge.
Yeah.
And for example, if boats that are a little too tall,
Mhm.
the bridge rises
Oh,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how that one's, I don't plot. So
Yeah.
like chunks and scenes started to come to me. And I just thought, what if my heroine, starts to realize that this like picturesque childhood she had was a lie, and it
Oh.
wasn't like that at all. And it connects to, there's a little bit of a paranormal element, not a lot.
Mhm.
It's her mom's ghost, and finding out that her mom, for anyone who's a mom, you're a young mom, uh, our children don't seem to think that we had a life before them, right?
Yes.
We
My
used
child argues with me. He's like, Mincy and Poppy are not your parents. Yes, yes, they are. That's my
yeah,
mom and dad. But yeah, they don't.
yeah,
So,
I used to do stuff,
yes.
go out, right?
Yeah.
And my heroine Jade is starting to learn that her mother had this kind of wild lifestyle
Oh.
when her mom was in like growing up in the 60s.
Yeah.
So that was really fun to explore. Yeah. So then that's it. Jade, it's titled Dealer's Child, and Jade is starting to realize she is a prosecutor, and there's some stuff that her mom did in the back in her time that is starting to come to life
Oh.
because people from the past are now like going after Jade. Yeah. Yeah.
So people that her mom had issues with basically are like, oh, hey, let's
Yeah.
just take it out on the daughter.
Yeah.
Cool. So
Yeah.
that
There's
probably creates a world of trouble for her then, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like this family vendetta.
Yeah.
This particular character and her backstory coming for Jade. And it's like this there's an individual who I'm trying to say this without giving it away,
Yeah.
is seeing that Jade had this life. And because of things that happened, this individual did not have this life. So she's coming after her, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
He scorned. Ouch. So
Yeah.
I'm curious now, where did the inspiration for Jade and Sage's characters come from? What inspired them?
Gosh. I wanted her to be a lawyer
Hmm.
because at that time, so 20 years ago, it was a totally different time. And a lot of the legal thrillers I was reading were American based.
Hmm.
And it's just even in my own country, it was like, where is there a thriller that deals with
Yeah.
Canadian law? Because we do have some differences,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of similarities too. But there are just some differences. And so I thought I want to write about a Canadian prosecutor, and when you get to Supreme Court, because that's where I worked,
Hmm.
as an assistant, I think it's really cool that when those lawyers go into court, they have to wear the black robes. They have to have the white tie, like this
Yeah.
big white tie, these tabs we call them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it's very formal.
Hmm.
Okay. So I thought I want her to be a lawyer, and I wanted it to be a she. And that's where she came from. She's not a specific person,
Yeah.
but I also, would read books of lawyers, and it was almost like they were um, superhuman,
Yeah.
nothing got to them, right? And I thought, I want her to make mistakes,
Yeah.
and I want her to be human. And so then Sage is her sister. And the thing is, with the legal system, and I hope I'm not boring your listeners,
No, this is
is
actually fascinating. So,
some in Canada, if you're a prosecutor, you can't investigate. Okay. It's not like Perry Mason.
ooh,
You can't investigate because you need to remain impartial. Okay.
yeah.
And it's basically with the evidence that's provided in a police report, with that evidence, you prosecute the file.
Okay.
So that kind of limited me a bit. I thought, okay, how's she going to do her investigations? How is she going to find things out? So I will have, I will try to include clues that will get her thinking about, let's say, a crime that has happened elsewhere
Yeah.
that she gets pulled into. And I have her sister Sage, who has her own all girl motorcycle gang,
Yeah.
who's a personal trainer, who I can use her. I can use her to help do some of the investigation because she's not a lawyer. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we've got Miss Queenie and Ro Brady joining us. So
Hello.
so her and Sage work as a duo team then, like that, and Sage does all the investigating.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Honestly, there's a scene where Sage is digging a hole and hiding stuff. So literally, Sage does the dirty work. Okay.
Man. Ooh. That is crazy. So how are they both pretty much affected? Can they both see their mom's ghost then in this story?
Well, that was the neat thing because Sage, at one point, it says to Jade, "Why am I not seeing her? You can see her. Why can't I see her?" And Sage is starting to feel a little sad because
Yeah.
they both lost their mom, and Sage wants a chance to see her ghost, her mother's ghost. So there is pivotal scene when
Mhm.
they're on their bikes. There's a motorcycle accident where Sage gets to see her mother's ghost, and it was just it makes me. I'm just
Heart-wrenching
thinking
as
about
well.
it now. It makes me feel
Oh,
good. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So many emotions just with just saying that. Not even getting to
yeah,
read the scene, I can just feel the heartache and stuff because it's
yeah.
man, wow. Um, what would you say has been your favorite scene with these characters? Or maybe it's just one of these characters.
Oh gosh, sometimes it's the funny. If
Mhm.
see, I always think writing humor is very hard, and humor is so it's like art. It's subjective, right?
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes my husband looks at what I find funny, with comedians, and I remember once he said to me, he goes, "If your mom only knew what you think is funny and what you're laughing at," and I'm like, "That's okay, that's okay," right? So, and I find there are some novels which, they're said to be very funny,
Mhm.
but it's not my type of humor.
Yeah.
So if there are a few scenes where if I can make myself laugh, then I'm happy. And I did a reading. Uh, it was 2 weeks ago. Actually, we had an event in Victoria called Noir at the Bar, where authors came at night and they were reading in this bar. It was really cool. And I read this scene. It's an audience I don't know.
Mhm.
Okay, and they picked up on the sarcasm, because the Jade and her mom are having this discussion,
Yeah.
and it was neat to hear a few chuckles. I thought, okay, not that I'm a comedian
Yeah.
by far, but they obviously we had the same humor, and they picked up my character's sarcasm when she was talking with her mom. Yeah,
So
so
that's
those are my
always good because then you know you're reaching those readers that you want to reach because
yeah,
they enjoy that stuff and they like that stuff.
yeah. So, like, I've been told I can write action scenes, and my dialogue. I had a class last night, and someone said your dialogue is zing, and I thought, okay, But so I guess it's the stuff that you yourself find a challenge. So if I like the stories get pretty heavy, so if I can make someone laugh uh,
Yeah.
while reading the book, I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yes, I love it. And I totally forgot to mention this at the start for you guys watching. This episode is sponsored by
Yes.
Creative Edge. Um, I need to make a mental note next time I do one of these to put that up first thing. Um, that shifting gears here, when you got through reworking the manuscripts and stuff, what did your process look like taking it from the manuscript to publishing? Did you utilize beta readers or anything like that?
Sometimes I think it's a hot mess.
It is. It really is. There's so many different methods, and every author and creative I've had on here, their methods of getting their stuff live is different.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
it's insane. That's why I it's a good question.
yeah. It's a
So
very good question. And if anything I've learned, book 4, I'm doing a little more plotting because the first 3, I'm not really a plotter.
yeah,
So, gosh, getting it from that original draft has changed a lot.
mhm,
Uh, I shout out to my editor, Pip Wallace. I mean, I gave her this manuscript, which I thought was okay, because I had gone through it a few times.
yeah,
I believe I've changed the climatic scene. I think I'm up to the 7th rewrite of it. Okay, 7th or 8th, but I've got it. I've
yeah,
got it now, right? Um, so yeah, I'm not a plotter. I tend to put too much in. That's my
mhm,
problem. I think I had 3 different storylines, and my editor said, we gotta scale this back. So I have 2 storylines, and it There are authors who can do it. I know authors who will have 3 storylines and they can pull it off. I believe they're plotters as well, okay? So, yeah, I refer to the first draft as the honeymoon stage where you're just
Yeah.
madly writing, inspiration's coming, and you're just like, "Yes, I know what I'm doing." Right? But, in the rewrites, that's where I will go for walks with my dogs, and that's when the negative talk comes in, where I'll be like, "Oh, you think you're an author, you think you're a writer, what are you doing?" And it's just thank goodness for those walks because that's where I can work out a scene and just ask those questions. What if she does this? What if she does that? Okay, if this happens, where will this lead to? Right.
Yeah.
So I'm now with book 3, Spy Girl. I'm doing a final read through and rewrite, and then I'm going to send it out to beta readers. Yes. I have a prosecutor who I always send it to because laws change.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I want is for to make a mistake with regards to the legal system. Okay. Um, so it'll be going out to her. I have some beta readers I will be sending it out to. I've already sent it out to another author I know, Susan Jane Wright,
Hmm.
just saying to her, okay, how does the flow of this story work? You know, and yeah, I give them like a deadline date that I need your comments back by a certain time, and then just I'll do another final read. I'll do another final read, and I'll give it a little bit of a rest before I finally upload it. That's why it's September 30th that it's coming out because I want to give myself enough time, and I want to get it out to book reviewers as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that those book reviewers, those ARC readers, you need those are always a good thing to have on
Yeah.
board for anything. You mentioned that going for a walk helps you work out some of those scenes. Would you also consider that maybe a bit of self-care to help you stay on track?
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
And like I said, I I got myself a part-time job.
Hmm.
I think I worked the max of 18 hours a week, and I needed that because if I didn't have that, I was finding that I was getting tired because I was always thinking about the story, always thinking about the art, thinking about what's the next thing I should do for the book to promote myself. What's the next thing I need to do? So when I go and work in this bakery for how many hours? Like I say, I think my max is 18 hours. This week, I think I'm only like 8 or
Yeah.
14, right? I go there and I don't think about my stories. It's a break that I so need, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Um, it's spring, so I've been doing a little bit of gardening, and that has been really good for me too, right? Just having that break. You need that break, or like I said, or else it's like you're always on that hamster wheel,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah. And you
Yeah.
mentioned the negative self-talk.
Yeah.
How do you work through that and like get it to turn off?
You know, I was thinking a good question because I was kind of thinking, I think I've figured out the answer to that is last night I always want to improve as a writer.
Yeah.
And last night, I'm in a writing class. It's called the Writer Studio. And, we all submit, let's say, 10 pages of our work.
Hmm.
And there's such a mutual respect. Like we all write differently. Some write more fantasy. Okay. Um, yeah. And just like last night with my submission, there were comments about things I could improve on, and then there were comments from my fellow students saying, "Joanna, God, like I said, your dialogue is zing.
Yeah.
We always enjoy reading your work." And I think what I do is I take away that if 10 people in this group enjoy my writing,
Mhm.
then I'm proud about that. I'm proud about that. You know, yeah, right? Yeah.
Yes. That negative self-talk, I think we all like have to deal with it at some point. And it's, as an author, it's always like lurking around the
Yeah.
corner just to like attack us when we're like the most vulnerable. It
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
So, ugh.
And the big one also is, don't compare my success to someone else's. That that will kill your creativity.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And I feel like that's one of the hardest things to do because there are some writers out there that can just pump stuff out, like boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 and it's like, oh, I can't do
Yeah.
that. Like I'm doing
Yeah.
good at my level, but you
Yeah.
have to almost like rein yourself in. Like, no, let's not put that as our goal. Let's step back a minute, put this as our goal. Maybe one day if we're not losing our mind. So, oh man. So with these two books out there, you mentioned book 3 is coming out later this year.
Yeah.
Do the stories all kind of, are they similar? Do they weave together, or is it different events for each one?
Different events for each one. And that's why, there's times when my editor will say to me, okay, Jade has dark hair. The reader who picks up Spy Girls, book 3, not book 1,
Yeah,
needs to know Jade has dark hair.
that's a
Okay,
good
so
point.
yeah, she'll say that. Or just when writing book 3, if I make a reference to something that happened, let's say in book 2,
Hmm.
she'll say, okay, you need to either give a little more of an explanation behind this, or don't include this. Okay, so it's that's what I try to do, because I I remember following a series. It was all the books by Dick Francis,
Hmm.
and sometimes I couldn't get book 1,
Yeah,
at the library. So I'm picking up book 5, but yeah, that's what I want with this Jade and Sage series, So yeah.
I like that. They can all be read as standalones, and sometimes that works
Yeah.
out better for readers in general. So it just kind of, because you don't have to start way back at the beginning. Because some people, I myself, on occasion get intimidated if it's like a big series and there's like 16 books. I don't want to go back to start way up here to read this one because this is the one that interests me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's, man, yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Joanna, we are coming towards the end of our time for today. So go ahead, and I'm going to bring this up one more time. This is the book we've got our focus on, Dealer's Child. Go ahead and tell our listeners and viewers where they can snag themselves a copy and where they can follow you on media.
They could get a copy on Amazon, ebooks on Barnes and Noble, The Nook. If they went to my own website, which is joannavandervlugt.com,
Mhm.
I could send them a copy with, an art card, one of my art cards, yeah. The price on my website includes shipping, includes the postage.
Mhm.
So yeah, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, The Nook, like I said, joannavandervlugt.com. And when you showed that image of Dealer's Child, I have to give a shout out to my book designer.
Mhm.
The work she did on that book cover, she took an image and she made sure the heroine has the same nose as she did on book 1.
Ooh,
Yeah.
here is book 1 again
She
for you guys.
yeah, she was matching the hair length, the hair color.
Ooh,
She is, and she even she made her have cooler sunglasses too. So I
yeah,
mean, a shout out to her.
that's impressive because that's a lot of work to get that
Yeah.
to work like that on covers. It's probably why I'm not a cover designer. So on my list of things I want to learn, but not top priority. But thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing a little bit about you and your book. Once again, you guys, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. And we'll see you next time.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to get future notifications when shows come out. Also, be sure to check out my website. I have a blog featuring this creative with some other fun and interesting questions. You can also subscribe to my newsletter there to stay up to date with all things the chapter goddess and Madilynn Dale. Once again, thanks for watching and have a great rest of the day.